Good afternoon, John. Donovan.
Hi, Marty.
Marty Keller here in Sacramento. My good friend and brother and guru, John Donovan in Oceanside, California. And here we are, Good Friday,
Oh
and
my God, that's right.
the middle of Easter week, which
Hmm.
since I do my Unity ministerial thing, I have a great resonance with our accountability practice and some of these symbols in Christian theology,
Hmm.
death and resurrection. Um, and so I'm giving a talk on Sunday on Easter, and I'm going to talk about there is no resurrection without death, and
Right.
that one has to start with accepting what is in order to transcend it and let it go. And for those who may be new to the accountability practice, this is Marty Keller's version of this. John may say it differently, but there is what we're here to explore is creating the world that we choose to have and not necessarily the world that has been thrust upon us through old experiences, old traumas, old unexamined psychodynamics that may have been with us for decades because we had no conscious awareness of how they were operating in us. And we actually have a lot of power over what goes on in our lives. And
Hmm.
for me, the accountability practice has really um, liberated me to take responsibility for the kind of life I choose to have. And the good news is that that liberation has led me to experiencing my life the way I say I want to experience it. And so
Hmm.
it's not just a theory;
No.
it's a practice, and
Yeah.
it's a practice that has consequences.
Hmm.
And so, a couple things I wanted to maybe start out with today, and as always, if we have time to, I know you and I talked about sharing some of the basics. It's always a good
Hmm.
thing to go to the basics, especially now that it's spring and things are things are bursting out all over. It's a good time to revisit the beginnings. Um, but I wanted to share with you a little bit and get your thoughts, get your reaction, your insights into a physical situation that I'm experiencing. And as you know, I facilitate this meeting we call the gut check meeting on Wednesdays at 4 o'clock Pacific time, where we look at
Hmm.
the relationship between our mental and emotional bodies and our physical bodies. And the idea, the inquiry is, can I use the accountability practice on physical symptoms the way I can use accountability practice on psychological symptoms? And so specifically, um, I had received about 3 weeks ago a diagnosis from my medical doctor of mild arthritis in my hands. In
Mm.
this hand, my right hand, it shows up as intermittent pain, like in the wrist area mostly, and in my left hand,
Hmm.
it shows up as a weakness in my thumb joint. And so the prescription that the doc gave me was to initiate a series of physical therapies, which essentially involve strengthening my hands and arms. So exercises to
Hmm.
strengthen the muscles. The theory being that movement is essential to arresting the development of arthritis and to bring strength to the joints, strength to the muscles, etc. And that's all well and good, and I'm okay with that. And I do my practices, and but what I want to talk about today, or get your insights in today, is using the accountability practice to create a relationship with my hands and my arthritis that is loving, open, liberating, and health generating. Because I may have arthritis. There's a part of me doesn't even want to own that I have this diagnosis. So it
Right.
starts there. It's like, well, if I say I have arthritis, do I have arthritis? What if I say I don't have arthritis? Um, so in one of the things that you taught me in this accountability practice, uh, I remember the first time I heard you say it, I think it was here on this podcast where you said, I revel in my character defects. So your thoughts, can I start by reveling in my arthritis? Does that have power?
You know, I'm gonna, quick answer is hell yes.
Hell yes.
Yes. So, as you explained this arthritis things, I feel that also in my thumb joints, where sometimes just a little pressure, a lot of pain, and the grip thing too. My experience with joint pain and arthritis is inflammation of the joints, as far as I know, and I'm no
Right,
doctor. I want to make like a qualifier here that I'm no doctor,
right.
and that if I'm in a condition, which I am, which is I just went through a heart attack, I am under a doctor's care and being prescribed medication, which I'm taking. I can say I'd prefer not to, but right now it's kind of a no-brainer that the condition is that severe to where I'm going to follow his orders.
Right.
Okay. So, having said that, if anybody has any long-term chronic, please see your doctor, or maybe there's some information here that will help you to assist to maybe even choose the right doctor.
And I heartily endorsed what you just said. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
that's why I went to the doctor first
right.
when this showed up.
Yeah, yeah. I was driving my car, and my thought was, I'm going to return this Keurig to bed and breakfast, or am I going to go, because I had chest pain, am I going to go to the emergency room? Yeah. So yeah, and I decided to go to the emergency room, which was fortuitous on my part. So along with the medical care, and I would like to mention naturopaths and homeopaths and I think the osteopaths, kinds of doctors who study all kinds of different things.
And acupuncturists.
Acupuncturists, chiropractors. Okay. So I have and have had a chronic knee, specific right knee, both knees, but more pain in my right knee. And over the last year, since you and I went to Costa Rica, actually, we went and visited a friend of Marty's who likes to walk everywhere. You know, I'm the kind of guy, if I got to go, a couple blocks down the road, I'm in my car, and so I was walking and I experienced pain, specifically in my right knee, and I thought to myself, I've been told too that movement is good, so every time I was walking with you and Victoria, every time I went to my right leg, I'm grateful for it. And this feeling came up, awareness that my knees have carried this body for now 73 years. And so when I'm grateful for this, and I feel the pain because it was painful, just something happened internal with me. I felt this actual gratitude for that body part, and it alerted me to the other body parts that I've been neglecting or not paying attention to, just taking for granted. And since then, it's been about a year and a half. I experienced a heart attack, and I had 2 angioplasties, and I'm in cardiac rehab, which is exercise, treadmill, bicycle, the elliptical thing with my hands. And I'm experiencing less pain in my knee. Climbing stairs was painful. Sometimes I'll get a couple steps up and I go, oh my God, I forgot about that. I can't do this without pain.
Right.
Or when I do a group, when I started 15, 20 years ago, if I stood for half hour, 45 minutes, I could feel my knee. Now I can stand pretty much the whole time, sit down, and then like just, oh my God, I didn't sit down because my knee hurt. I sat down because I wanted to get to the thing. I was tired. So, and along with that, I use the accountability process with my relationship, with my partner, with my children, with my coworkers, with my clients, because every once in a while I'll get what we call triggered or associated into an old pain, and I go into this compulsive thinking about it. And I know that when I'm compulsively thinking about something, there's something in that for me, about me. I'm controlling, I'm needy, I am what I think the other person is, manipulative and conniving and doing, yeah, okay. So I own it. And in the process, of course, it's been January since the heart attack. I've changed my diet severely. I want to say severely, from meat to plant-based diet. And I'm started exercise. And I'm reaping the benefits of it. Okay. So Gabor Mate says, anything you can come up with, any disease, mental health disorder, obsessive compulsive behavior addiction, is a result of complex post-traumatic stress. So that's his view. He's a medical, I believe, a psychiatrist. So, no, he's an MD.
Right.
Okay. So he says whatever, and he works with addicts and alcoholics. He said what caused their dysfunction or their addiction was unresolved childhood issues. So along with paying attention to my body, a greater awareness and gratitude for my body, and the accountability tree process, owning my projections, having a discordant feeling and simply feeling it instead of going, oh my God, I'm anxious, I need to, I got to. No, I'm feeling anxious. Where do I feel it? And usually for me, it's in my arms. I get a tingle in my arms. So I will get to a relaxed place, either sit down or lay down, and simply breathe into the body sensation. And I gain insights. So complex post-traumatic stress, according to Gabor Mate, and I agree with him. Actually, he says 98, 99%, and there's some, DNA heritage. Anyway, I don't even think that. I think the DNA thing, heritage, is still complex post-traumatic stress passed down intergenerationally. Okay. So I address, I'm mindful of who I take my body to. And before this cardiac doctor, I was seeing a naturopath and a chiropractor and an acupuncturist. And now I've included this cardiac specialist to maintain my heart health, which changed diet, routinely exercising, which I'm doing, and owning my projections, looking at my childhood trauma. Childhood trauma is where it began. I've got young adult trauma, 30-year-old, 40-year-old stuff that's still stuck in my body. And you and I have this process of simply owning the projection, like that person's mean. No, I'm mean. Now, I want to clarify, when I say project, that person's mean, and I noticed that, and then I moved to take a proactive action, become proactive, and just move on and not let it bother me. And if that person's mean and I'm stuck in, he's got to do something different, I got this control, then that's mine.
Exactly.
If somebody's mean and I move away, that person could be mean. It doesn't matter, but I don't invest my time in trying to fix and or explain or do something to fix that because that's his projection. I'm cool. So if I go over something more than 3 times in my mind, I know that I have something in that experience that's telling me that I'm still wounded someplace. I still have pain someplace. So I go to that pain, owning projections, which is that person's mean. I'll just own, I'm mean. Nice deep breath. I intend to be kind. Go to the feeling. Stay with the feeling until I glean the information that it's trying to give me, like anxiety. Anxiety may, if I try to get rid of my anxiety, whatever information, whatever I'm anxious about may not like come into my head. I think from one example of that, I was anxious before a group thing, and it's like, how could I be anxious? It's like, I know this stuff. No, I said, okay, I went and I was driving my car, I stopped my car, I took a breath, and I go, I feel anxious, I'm anxious. And I just felt it with the body sensation across my chest and my arms. And this little voice said, you're not really ready. I said, oh, okay, I'm gonna go over my notes. And I got in my car, and it was gone. It was, I paid attention to it. Okay, I went over my notes. The workshop or the group went well, and I pay attention to what's going on in my body. And I nurture it. I pay attention to it. I now know that the words emotion and feeling are synonymous, actually, and that I glean information about my life and my relationship to the world, people, places, and things through my emotional body, which isn't empirical evidence like see, hear, taste, touch, smell. It's intuitive, it's dynamic, it's organic, and as relevant as see, hear, taste, touch, smell to me now. It's like if there's an energy in the room, there's an energy in the room because my body is perceiving it. I don't judge it or like, you shouldn't do that. Well, that's what I used to do. Now I just, okay, this is happening. I feel this. How are you doing? Or start a dialogue or not, whatever the proaction might be for me. So I don't know if that helped or we can pull something out of what you heard me say.
Well, there's a lot of incredibly useful information and insights there, John. So thank you for the summary. So a couple things that I noted here that I think are places that I'm owning as relevant for what I'm up to, paralleling what you're up to.
Okay.
Because before I had this chance to talk with you now, I was aware that the experience of pain in my hands is a gift, that there's something for me to learn. But what I didn't do, what I learned by listening to what you just said, is to be willing to allow the pain to talk to me,
Yeah.
to be willing to honor it, just the way I've learned to honor the emotional pain that I experience, like when I'm doing projection, as you just said. I'm mean, I'm arrogant, I'm resentful. Um, I've learned to listen to the little guy
Mm-hmm.
who's experiencing that. I've
Mm-hmm.
learned to move my focus to that part of my body, and for me, it's almost always right here,
Yeah.
just below the solar plexus,
Mm-hmm.
um, and even ask it what it wants to tell me.
Right.
And what I've learned is that sometimes the answer comes like that, like, okay, what do you want me to know? Sometimes I got to sit with it, but the answer always comes. But I hadn't thought about applying that exact same process to this, because what I hadn't ripened in my consciousness is that the sensation in my hands has the exact same information sharing capacity that the emotional sensation in my gut has.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my first takeaway from what I heard you say. That, and then you said, um, that's a way, now these are my words, so I heard you say,
Right.
that's a way to nurture myself,
Mm-hmm.
to nurture my hands, to nurture my health.
Yep.
Um, and then the other takeaway I got is again something I know, but I hadn't really emphasized, which is that um, whatever I do for any aspect of my health, whether it's my psychological and spiritual health or my physical health, has impact in all realms of my being. So, for example, if I learn to reduce stress using the accountability process on uh, the self-critical thinking that I'm habituated to, and I intend to create a world of joy, peace, freedom, community, and health. And as a result of that, my general stress level has been way down over the past year or so. That has that has happy effects on my body and not just my psyche. I mean, my psyche and my body are one, in essence. And yet I still have compartmentalized thinking about this stuff because this field of learning to appreciate and be gentle with painful physical sensations is new to me. I'll just own it's new. And that's partly why I wanted to have the conversation with you about it. Because if it's new to me, it's probably new to a lot of us. And and yet the principles apply that we use in accountability. They apply to everything is where I'm coming from. And so I'm here to learn about that
Mm-hmm.
in terms of, you know, what's going on with my hands.
Right. Um, what my body is offered me at times is to recognize where I'm at in my life. It's like I'm in my elder age. I'm in my eldership. Okay. Um, what I do here is different than what I did before because I want to be able to do what I did before. No, no, no.
What?
It's like, okay, so I accept that I'm in this part of my life. Okay. And you know, this conversation has infinite amount of implications where we can go with it and talk. My goal is how do I make it through this day? The information I give to clients who come to the Zoom meetings and treatment center that I work at, what do I do right now? What's going on right now in this moment? What are the, how do I access relief or something new that I can add to, that I could start perceiving differently and then move through this, well, for people in a treatment center, this difficult time in my life with some grace. What am I, what am I actually looking for?
Right.
See, I have asked and answered that question multiple times, and I know that I can continue to ask and answer that question. When I first got into recovery, I didn't know that I could ask that question. Like, what do I want? What's good for me? What do I need to move through wherever I find myself to something different? I had no idea. I just, in my mind, I just had to like stop something like drinking or be better or be good. And it's like, no, that's not what I found as the solution. It's wherever I find myself, if it's discordant in some way, I'm displaying a pattern of behavior like in the adult children of alcoholics. um, 14 traits like fear of authority figures, angry at criticism, unable to, and I know this doesn't say it specifically, maintain a long-term loving, caring relationship. Other people are more important than me. Um, those traits are in alignment with family of origin dysfunction, childhood trauma. Everybody that goes through family of origin, childhood trauma can relate to several of those traits. So the traits are an indication of unresolved issues, unresolved pain, unresolved trauma. And then ACA talks about loving parent and the way out, intentional living. What I found, this accountability process for me is like, it's my loving parent, and I want to say on steroids. It's like, it's me accepting myself exactly where I'm at. I'm an alcoholic, no blame or judgment. Unconditionally, simply saying where I find myself based on my experience, the experience that I've had in my life, childhood mainly, that led me to, I'm an alcoholic. Truth. There's a relief, there's a validation of what happened because that's in alignment. Now, being an alcoholic hurts, causes destruction, separation, isolation, and impacts the people around you in a very destructive way. All that's true. That is all that's true. An alcoholic, being an alcoholic, is not out of alignment with childhood trauma. Gabriel Mate again, every disease, every addiction, every condition, mental health or physical, is a direct result of complex post-traumatic stress. What's that? Family of origin dysfunction, childhood trauma. If we got a guy from Afghanistan comes back and there's loud noise, he's walking down the street, he hits the ground, we don't judge him. We don't say he's stupid. We don't go, well, where'd that guy get that shit from? Or that guy's really weird. No, we know that he's complex post-traumatic stress. He was in a war zone. So that's his body's reaction. But when I get in a relationship and somebody says, I love you, and I find myself backing up, I judge that. That's a direct result of somebody saying, I love you, and then some either chastisement, punishment, abuse happen. I'm doing this because I love you is normally what we say.
Right, this hurts me more than it hurts you.
It hurts me. It's like, oh, okay. No, don't stop. Anyway, so resolving that trauma, one way is accountability tree is not the only way. It is a way of addressing the trauma on a frequency level. Truth. I'm John, as alcoholic, has encoded in that the pain from which it came. And it goes, thank you, thank you, thank you for keeping me alive. That's one of the things I discovered as an alcoholic, that the alcohol kept me alive so I can get in the door and say I need help. Okay, so thank you for doing what you thought you needed to do to keep me alive. I'm good now. I'm safe with these people or with myself because I'm coming to love myself, because as an alcoholic, I did not, because that was the information given to me as a child. There's something wrong with me. I'm defective. I'm the wrong gender. I'm the wrong, not the right level of intelligence. So that I'm an alcoholic, I want to say that again, has encoded in it the frequency of the pain that caused it. Could be compulsive, obsessive compulsive behavior. Has, owning that without blame or judgment, unconditional love, without blame or judgment, has encoded in it the trauma that caused the obsessive compulsive. I have, and here's what I want to say for me, and this is true for me, everybody take it and leave the rest. My knee problem has encoded in it the trauma that is unresolved. Now, is that all there is? Probably, I don't know, probably not. And I know that it helps, and I know it's effective, and I know where I was and where I am now. Another thing about this truth thing, it opens me up to awarenesses I couldn't have fighting the problem. If I'm fighting being an alcoholic, if I'm fighting and beating myself up for being obsessive compulsive or mean or verbally violent. I'm a dumbass. I'm this. How come why can't I? All those expectations I talk about. I'm not open to what else may be around me because I'm busy fighting something. And what I've learned is what you resist persists, and I've added and prevails. And I've understood from Gandhi and other people that what you fight against, you strengthen. I don't know where I got this, but here's what I know. I become what I hate because the focus is there, the pain is encoded in that hate, and it affects me stress-wise, immune-wise, physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
Yeah, and we don't have to get into this now, but I think that all hatred is self-hatred.
Yeah, I agree.
And that I'm projecting that out on you,
right?
Because it's hard to survive genuine self-hatred.
Yeah.
Because genuine self-hatred is self-destructive.
Right.
And ultimately, I want to obliterate myself. So rather than I can't live with that because survival trumps self-hatred. Good news.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll go to war with you, and I will try to obliterate you as a way of avoiding my own deep hatred of myself.
Right. Wow. Well
Again,
said.
why the accountability practice works for me is because when I can own, I hate myself. It's like that alignment that you said.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I can even feel it right now. I've
Yes.
been doing this work for a dozen years.
Yeah.
I can just feel my body relax.
Yeah.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with me.
Right.
And I hate myself.
And
Or at some level, because actually I love myself as well.
yeah.
And I love myself enough to admit when I hate myself
Yeah.
and to make room for that as part of this complexity of being a human being. We're not angels.
No.
We're we are, I mean, this is one of those great metaphors. We are of the earth and the sky.
Yep.
And as Jesus said in that parable about the coin, we render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar, and then we render unto God the things that are God. The
Mm-hmm.
way I interpret that here is when my body needs my attention, I give attention to my body.
Yep.
And when my spirit needs attention, I give attention to my spirit, knowing that it's the same activity.
Yep.
At root, it's the same activity. It's how I cultivate that unconditional love that you spoke of earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Unconditional love starts by unconditionally accepting the defects that I hold against myself.
Right.
So when you said way back, I revel in my character defects,
Mm-hmm.
what I heard from you is, oh, John's found a new way to love himself, or John's found a new way to express his already existing love for himself.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, then of course I ran to slavishly copy you.
That's fine. I'm copying other people.
No,
So
I know.
this stuff works. And that when we embody it, then we become the teachers. Then we
Exactly.
become the exemplifiers. We hold the energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I learned it from, there was part of my recovery was who do you admire and what aspect of them do you admire? And Gandhi is power. And Martin Luther King is charisma. Malcolm X is courage of conviction. And I want that. It is my intent to be powerful, charismatic, and stand in the courage of my conviction. And I find myself capable of those things, capable of standing in the courage of my conviction, capable of hearing compliments about how well I offer this information sometimes, and sometimes it's like criticism about just say it straight, John, just tell me the straight way. Both are validations that I'm doing what I love to do.
So let's 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 see if we can clarify a few things for somebody who might be watching this for the first time.
Okay.
So first of all, I'm really grateful for the insights in the conversation, and there's a lot just in the first part of this podcast,
Hmm.
for anybody, including myself, who is experiencing the humanity of having injuries and illnesses,
Right.
because everybody has it. Um, in fact, there was one thing I meant to bring up before we move on. Many of the people who do our work are people in the older years of our lives, and just like to see if you have any thoughts you could share on this particular matter. Um, Several people have given voice to, and I had this, that, so I'm 71. So like when the arthritis first showed up, and it persisted after a couple days. I got to see if this just give it a couple days. It could just be something, passing, but it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then my mind goes to, this is what's going to kill me.
Yep.
And people in our groups have given voice to, every new twinge, every new pain is death knocking at the door.
Yep.
That automatic compulsive voice of fear, that's my word for it. Just wanted to see if you had any thoughts about that.
Um, yeah, it's like um, um, I'm thinking Don Miguel Ruiz, the Four Agreements. One of the things we don't do in this culture is befriend our mortality.
Right.
And befriending our mortality to me now means, whoa, what do I, whoa, I'm not here all forever. What do I want now? Right now is important to me. Because one day I won't be able to ask that question, or wherever we go, I may ask it a different way. I don't know. I don't know. That's the key thing.
Right.
And right now I do know that by befriending my mortality, I stay present easier and actually with more motivation and vigor, and become willing to look at myself. Because what I found is when I look at myself instead of projecting it out, wanting somebody else to change, I grow and I build a foundation of integrity, capacity to stay present in the face of, set healthy boundaries, and and be of service. Be of service to others, which is, in my mind, if I like boil down what I want to the lowest common denominator, it would be that, be in service to other people, along with enjoying my life and being when I'm productive, I'm present, I'm an exemplar. My children know that I love them, and they express that to me. So, yeah, I want more.
I intend to have fun. That's mine. Um, so that brings me, one of the things you said brings me around to where I wanted to move the conversation to the basics. And so we talked about Don Miguel Ruiz, and the imperative to be willing to befriend our mortality, to befriend
Mhm.
death, and
Mhm.
I'm down with that.
Yeah,
I have set the intention. I intend to be ready to die when it's time.
yeah.
Um, but one of the questions that comes up a lot with people, particularly beginners, and I'd like to see if you'd be willing to go into this a little bit, is this whole question of, how do I own something? What does it mean to own? Uh, I own my self-criticism. I own my self-hatred. What, um, I mean, it's okay if you want to share about what the idea is, but I think that the question when people ask this is, what can I do practically to own things that I have been avoiding about myself?
Do you see the board there now?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh, good. I'm gonna get up and go through that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. I talk about I start with, what do I want that I don't have? And then I talk about the obstacles, which are all this family of origin, dysfunction, childhood trauma. And then I set up that wherever I find myself is a direct result of pain. Gabriel Mate said it's not why the addiction, it's why the pain. So what I've discovered about alcohol, it has no power. It tastes good, it feels good, it has no power over me. Okay, I gave it power because there was something inside me that was hurting, there was pain, and the alcohol relieved the pain. So what I mean by owning my character defects is another way to say it, or owning where I find myself. Simply owning this, and I'm going to say 5 words because these are my basic 5 words that I use. And I say this to clients, and I'm going to say 5 words. You tell me which ones fit you. Arrogant, entitled, mean, controlling, or needy. Okay. That's the end result of unresolved childhood trauma. So if I own this, that's my truth, no blame, no judgment. So what I mean by own is simply saying where I find myself. An example of that was one of the meetings I went to as an alcoholic. I heard myself say, I'm an alcoholic. That's owning where I find myself. I'm an alcoholic.
So basically, so again, for the newcomer, basically what I'm hearing you say is that to own something about myself is as simple as to speak it in a declarative sentence.
Yes.
I'm an alcoholic.
Yes.
So that I'm stating this as a fact.
Right. Data.
Right? Without blame or judgment.
And that's the key is, that's what I mean by accountable. You look up accountable in the dictionary, and it actually says blameworthy. Find a person to punish. That's not what I mean. Accountability is the ability to account for what? Where I find myself. No blame, no judgment. So there's no blame and judgment in this statement. And see, when I stumbled upon this, and what all the things that are involved in me coming to putting this together, one of them was sitting in that room saying I'm an alcoholic, and nobody judged me. There was not a whisper of criticism or judgment. I felt something, because there was, well, no blame and judgment means unconditional. No condition. There was no condition.
Correct.
I'm an alcoholic. I felt it. I didn't know this was going on. I felt it. I got into my emotional body, which was in alignment with my trauma relief. My intent then, I didn't have this, I intend to, but my thought was, I'm coming back. It's like, that's dawned on me the first time ever, because I didn't want to be there before that meeting.
Right.
And I didn't want to be to the 2 or 3 meetings I was prior to that. I thought, oh my God, what I got, I don't want to do this. I do now. I want to be in that room. That's what happened, and that's what I mean by owning. Now, since then, I've owned arrogant, entitled, mean, controlling, and needy. And the myriad of things, character defects, that come out in addiction, codependency. My value, what I mean by codependency is I depend on somebody else's actions to receive value. Codependent. Could be alcohol, it could be drugs, it could be shoe shopping. But I depend on my helping somebody else to feel good. No, I feel good, and if you ask me for help, I'll give you. If you don't ask me, I will leave you alone, because I find myself in this interdependent place where sometimes I ask for help. You know, I call you or Daniel, or you guys call me looking for clarification. That's interdependent. I went from codependent to interdependent. And then the avoidant behaviors are myriad. For Gabriel Mate, it was buying CDs of classical music. He just couldn't stop buying. He had 10,000 and he was still buying anyway. So whatever that was. And when I owned the results and bring them up here, no blame, no judgment, like I said before, that truth has encoded in it the frequency of the pain that caused the behavior. It's like a validation, a self-validation of what the cause. You know, I'm Catholic, so I didn't read. They didn't let us read the Bible, but but since then I've read it. I've actually read it. And when it talks about the sun shining on us, good and evil, it's like that blew my fucking mind. It's like, how in the fuck? Because I'm trying to be good here. I'm trying to be. I mean, I deserve the sun. I'm going to be good, and I get the. No, it's unconditional. Well, when I got to this, and every time I go there, the sun shines on me. Even though that's true. Even though I'm mean, I'm admitting it. There was a guy in the jail, and I asked him what he did, and it was forgery. And I says, well, how you doing? He says, I'm doing great, John. I ain't got that shit hanging over me anymore. I'm free of it because I'm admitted I was accountable. I'm like, oh, wow. See, there's a lot of things that went into making this, and that was one of them, that he felt relief because he didn't have to like lie anymore or cheat anymore. He was free of the condition. And he could choose something else. So I'm going to sit down. So anyway, I'm going to bring the picture back too.
Okay.
Oops. So that's what I mean by own.
So thank you for that. So let me throw out then a follow-up question.
Okay.
So does that ownership principle work in both directions? That is to say, I'm willing to own these things that I previously judged as negative, shameful, faulty, bad. But doesn't it also work about the things about myself that are beautiful and powerful and wonderful?
Yeah.
That we are also habituated to not own our power, our creativity, our sensitivity, our compassion. So is it not the case that a way to own those is, again, the same simple thing? I am a powerful man.
Yeah.
I am a compassionate person.
Yeah. Yes. It's the way I'm equating this, it's in my capacity to receive a compliment. Before my recovery, somebody paid me a compliment, I would sidestep the compliment. I would, oh, that you're talking about somebody else. Oh, that was easy. Oh, that was a no-brainer. Now I receive the compliment. I mean, people will spontaneously say, I feel safe around you. And I say, yeah, I know. Yeah, I work. It is my intent that people feel safe. Yes. Or you're compassionate, or you're kind, or you're calm. Yes. Yeah, yes, I am. Or, wow, you're a good facilitator. Yes, thank you, I know. It's like where before I wouldn't hear it, and I deflect it. It's
right.
Like, so yeah.
But what I'm talking about,
validation. Go ahead.
but what I'm going to talk about, so that's other people saying that about you. It's the
Right.
capacity. So, but for you to own it, don't you need to say it?
Yeah, yeah, I can say it. I can say it and
Yeah,
believe it. I am a gentle, loving, empowering whole man.
exactly.
Yeah.
And again, I wanted to share that for the newcomer because the reason I do this work is because it helps me live the life I want to live.
Yeah.
It helps me live the life I want to live by giving me the awareness of it's on John's board there. He didn't go over it, but of the obstacles that come from my family of origin dysfunctional upbringing. And those obstacles include hidden beliefs about myself,
Right.
habits of thought, addictive behaviors, all those things that um, were the ways I did me
Mm-hmm.
until I came to this work. And so they prevented me from any choice other than that compulsion.
Mm-hmm.
And I would find myself, I mean, I remember I would find myself in situations where everything was calm and I could feel this need to create a drama
Yep.
because the calmness was like, something's wrong here.
Yeah.
I can only be validated if I'm causing trouble.
Right.
And so then I would just pick up the phone and go poke somebody.
Yeah. I had being loved needed a condition of rejection in it.
Right.
In other words, if somebody didn't like tell me I need to be better, I had potential, this will work on your potential, that I didn't feel loved. And if it wasn't there, if the rejection wasn't there, I would posture in a way to bring it out to me. And it would drive people nuts. It said,
Yeah.
John, I like you. Yeah, but once you get to know me, you're not going to like me.
Right. Right.
It's like, what the hell is that? It's like, and I find myself saying that recently. I was thinking tongue in cheek, but that probably there's more truth in there. I hate myself. I intend to hold myself in high regard. I intend to love myself unconditionally. I intend to know that I am lovable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the human condition. I think again for people who are listening to this for the first time, or maybe you've got recent exposure to this accountability practice. I'm saying maybe John agrees with this or not, but I'm saying this is a universal human condition. Everyone is born into some level of trauma. I don't want to glamorize it. It's just what
Right, right.
happens.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, some people glamorize it, and we do have this victim culture here and right now, and like, no, no, it's not about that.
No.
It's about accepting that this is the human condition. In fact, that's the Garden of Eden story. People have known this for millennia,
Right,
that we believe there's something wrong with us.
right.
We willfully obeyed God, and we made Him kick us out of the garden.
Yeah, like we got that power.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So, um, so there's nothing wrong with that. That's just that's the condition of being here, at least at this stage of our evolution. Maybe we'll evolve to a higher level, a higher vibration. Certainly, I affirm that the work that we're doing is contributing to that possibility,
yes, I
and
agree.
we're not the only ones. Again, we can go back to the Buddha, we can go back to Jesus. There are many, many, many people who have trod this path before.
Yep.
Maybe the way they did it was a little bit different, and that's cool. Um, to the extent that they could find themselves in this experience of infinite peace, unconditionality, as you said, doesn't matter how you get there. So that's for me the reason I'm doing this work is to be able to um, own myself. That's why I wanted to talk to you today because I was resisting owning arthritis,
Uh,
and I knew it. And it's like, and there was nothing wrong with that. Like
no.
resistance is part of the deal. I wasn't berating myself for the resistance. I was actually more bewildered by
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I need some help here, and
I,
so
I'm
I just came and asked for help.
yeah, yeah. I'm owning that my arteries in my heart need attention. It's like I'm not denying that anymore. It's like I'm taking steps to be healthy.
Right.
I'm highly motivated right now.
Who was it the writer, the British writer said something, nothing concentrates your mind like being led to your execution.
Oh my God, I don't know. I don't know who wrote that, but yeah, it's like, okay, time's short here.
Yeah, let me focus. So we have a few minutes left, John. We've covered a lot of ground. Anything that we haven't covered yet that you'd like to maybe go over?
Um, yeah, let me get back up on the board here.
Okay. Always love it when you're at the board.
Okay. So we're talking about the first obstacle in my experience is in my memory, conscious and subconscious. This is an iceberg. So my experience, 1/8 to 1/10 of my experiences are conscious. I can bring them to mind. 7/8 to 9/10 of my total experience from conception to the present moment have been relegated to the subconscious. And I use that word purposefully because it's not like, oh, it got stuffed in there or I chose to put it in there. No, all of our experiences are too much to handle, to evaluate decisions that we make, although we have that information at our ready depending on the level intensity of the decision. Like, what job do I want? Well, who do I want to be in a relationship? Those decisions. So our total memory is always accessed every time we make a decision. I have the cutaway of the brain. And this experience, the reticular activating system is a net-like group of cells that filter the information coming so that it fits our experience and we survive. So if I have worthiness issues that I'm not aware of, that's where that somebody pays me a compliment, I sidestep the compliment because it doesn't align with my beliefs and perceptions about myself. And this mechanism in our brainstem is designed for us to survive, so it automatically deflects because it sees it as a threat to our survival. Fight, flight, freeze, please. And then that causes discordance internally, and the results, addiction, codependency, avoidant behaviors. So healing this, reframing that is another word for healing. In other words, I'm not worthy. Oh, my term was worthless piece of shit. Take a breath. I intend to hold myself in high regard. That intent and that truth, let me start with that first. I'm worthless is the truth that's in resonance with the information that thinks it's important for me to stay unworthy for my survival. This makes no rational sense. Although we find ourselves here and then try to rationalize why we get here instead of just owning, oh my God, I have something in me that drove me to this behavior for my survival. Yes, I'm an addict. I'm an addict. I intend to come back to the meeting. I intend to ask for help. I intend to hold myself in high regard. And things start changing because we change the message coming from our subconscious. Every time I heal, 1/10 of that remains in my consciousness. 9/10 to 7/8 is relegated again to my subconscious. So I pay attention to the difference, which for me, the difference, I'm an alcoholic, I haven't had a drink since because I go to meetings instead of the bar. And I don't even care. I went to a bar 10 years after my recovery, my stop date for an assignment to become a drug and alcohol counselor. And when I walked into that place, it was so dank and, oh my God, what did I see here? But before it was like, oh my God, I'm here, John's
I'm
here.
home.
So it changed me. What? The truth. Just owning this, whatever that was, owning that, no blame, no judgment, has encoded in it the pain that caused that truth. Okay, that's what I want to say. Mechanism, reticular activating system, designed for my survival. Stay stuck. You at least are going to survive. This mechanism cares little about my fulfillment or my comfort. Just ask the guys sitting in jail 25 to life. They're alive, but they're, well, you ask them, they may like it, it may become institutionalized. This mechanism wants me to survive based on my past experience. And I can't fight that. I can't resist that. I can own it, which is saying the truth, no blame, no judgment. I'm going to sit down.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Okay.
Lots to learn in our work, partly because every one of us is a universe unto him or herself.
Oh my God, there's so much in there.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
So that I often think about, when you have that iceberg idea, that's not just true of us as individuals, it's also true of us as humans, that there's this human 8 billion plus strong subconscious that we all also participate in by virtue of being human.
Right.
But that's going to be a topic for another podcast because we've come to the end of our time together. So
Yeah.
as always, thank you so much, John.
You're so welcome.
I learned a lot, and I intend to use what I learned.
Cool.
So as always, you get the last word.
All I want to say is we have meetings at the end of the podcast. There'll be an email to contact either Marty or myself, and we can share with you the 4 meetings throughout the week that address this every week.
And to hook onto that, the group process is an accelerant for recovery.
Yes, I agree.
I can do it one-on-one with somebody, and that's great. And I don't talk that down at all. And the group has an accelerant quality for me because every one of us is working together, and I can sit in the room. It's what you said earlier about the AA meetings. Like, if I can't restrain myself from blaming and judging myself, I can sit in a room full of people who are doing that.
Right.
Who are not judging me. They're creating that unconditional, non-judgmental atmosphere that I secretly crave.
Yes.
I really do want that. I just don't know how to give it to myself.
Correct.
So I support that. Anybody would like to join our meetings, we'd love to have you. And as I'm fond of saying, you can come and participate. Some people show up for the first time and jump in the deep end, or you can hang out in the shallow end and keep quiet. It's like, you'll find that we don't have any requirements for attendance. Right. In fact, you may not like that. But that's okay too. All right, my brother.
Yes.
Happy Easter, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
You got it.
Okay. Bye.